Good morning, Freedom Team. It is Monday, September 8th. Wow, we're getting ready to head into the last quarter. But guess what, gang? For those who are doing rev share, this is the best time of year right now. We're heading to fourth quarter. This is when most agents tend to move brokerages. A lot of them would like to start off on a clean slate come January 1st. So, man, even if you haven't been doing it, you start planting seeds for the next 30, 60 days. Good chance you're going to see some action come November, December. So, anyway, plant that little seed with you. And also, if you have not got your tickets for the big Miami convention, man, please do it, especially if you have not been to one of these events, October 20th through 23rd, at least when I have my plane ticket booked for. So I hope to see all you guys down there. All of the leaders are going down, all seven of us. And we have an event October 21st. You guys should get all the details on that. I think it includes one drink for everybody and unlimited appetizers. We did it last year, was pretty awesome. So hopefully you guys can all make it and participate there. I think we had about 60, 65 of us at that little breakout session we had last year. So we're going to do it again. There he is, Mr. Sean Work. I see him, Brian.
I couldn't find, sorry, Sean.
Oh, you're good, brother. You're good, good, good. I didn't have to pull up a screen. What's going on, Mr. Sean
Hey
Work? How
man, we're
you doing,
having
brother?
tech issues, so I had to pull up on the iPad. It's giving me a firewall problem. So
Hey, not a problem, man. We were just doing a little housekeeping.
cool.
We appreciate you jumping on here, my friend. Let
Yeah,
me
man.
let me rattle off right now Sean's bio, and I first want to say this just to grab your attention real quick. Mr. Sean Work here has 30 FLQAs, so he has the seventh, all seven levels unlocked, and he has 248 in his group. So first of all, congrats, Sean. Let me kind of rattle off this gentleman's bio. Pretty impressive here. So everybody dial in here. He's been a broker associate and senior executive. Has been a licensed real estate broker with the California Department of Real Estate since 2004, bringing over 2 decades of proven experience to every transaction. Over the years, he's built a reputation as a trusted advisor, accredited AREO agent, certified sales specialist, business coach, and industry leader. Results speak for themselves. He's a master club qualifier, top 8% of realtors in Placer County every year from '04 through '24 for 20 years. He's ranked 95th in the nation for closed homes by the Wall Street Journal and 5th in Northern California by the Sacramento Bee just 4 years into his career. Featured on HGTV's House Hunters, he has personally closed over 1,700 successful transactions. What does this mean for you as a client? He's got a proven track record. You get the benefit of a broker with a history of results and consistency. His market expertise, with deep knowledge of Sacramento, Placer, and El Dorado counties, as well as the Bay Area, he can guide you through complex markets with confidence, powerful network. He's established corporate relationships, client database, and systematic marketing plans to ensure maximum exposure and opportunity. And for coaching and leadership, as a former CEO of Keller Williams San Carlos and current leader of executive representation, powered by EXP Realty, I've coached and trained some of the region's top producers, meaning he brings the very same strategies to his home purchase or sell. So whether you're buying your dream home, selling for top dollar, or investing in the future, he puts his experience, resources, and proven systems to work for you. What a track record there, Mr. Sean Work.
Sounds a little bit like Chat GPT, doesn't it?
Yeah. Hey, we're all using that almost on a daily basis now, man. It truly is amazing. So, are you out there in California as well, Sacramento, or where's the area again?
Yeah, we're in Sacramento. We're closer to Lake Tahoe, a little spot called Lincoln,
Yeah.
and I have a branch office here in Roseville. And for those of you who know Brent, probably everybody, Brent and I started at the Roseville Keller Williams together, so kind of right in Brent's backyard here. And that's why I was a little late, actually. Well, I've been traveling this weekend. Flew down. For those of you who know Pete Middleton,
Yep.
flew down to San Diego with Pete. One of my whale clients is listing a couple properties down there to San Diego. He wanted me to be involved, so I flew down there for the day and flew back. Got back late last night, and so yeah, we're just we're all through California, really.
That's awesome. But yeah, we interviewed Pete. It's been a while back. I know he's one of our luxury specialists, and I'm
Absolutely.
mistaken, his story was pretty incredible. For those that don't know, he had like I think 72 agents or something in his the independent brokerage, when he was contacted about EXP, when he decided to make the move. I'll just drop this story real quick for Sean, for some that may not know, and correct me if I
Sure.
end up being wrong.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
when he made the move over, I want to say about 56 of the 72 or something came with him. But here's what's interesting. Gene Frederick had a call with him the day he was making the move over. And again, Gene Frederick, I'm sure everybody knows, but if not, he's the number three earner in the whole world of EXP, about 18,000 agents making over $1 million a month. So pretty crazy. But Gene spoke with Pete the day he made the move and he said, listen, he goes, Pete, I'm going to predict right now that in 12 months from now, you and your 52 approximate agents will have over 300 agents in 1 year. He goes, I'll call you at the 1 year mark. Fast forward 1 year, Pete's on board. Lo and behold, guys, his organization grew to 312. When Gene called him that day, he said to Gene, he goes, Gene, I made, if I'm not mistaken, Sean, he goes, I think I've made he either 28,000 or 32,000 net from his revenue share straight to the bottom line, and told Gene, the entire time I've been running my brokerage, I've never made this much profit in in 1 month after running his independent broker. I don't remember for how long he'd been
Yeah.
running it, Sean, but what was it, about 32,000? And he's 12 months.
Yeah, that's exactly the number I believe. I've
Okay.
heard this story before.
Yeah. Crazy story, though. That really is. That was, I used to tell that all the time. That's been, God, probably 6 years ago about. If he
Yeah, I
came
mean, it
over.
just goes to show that what the model can provide to an independent broker. That's been for this next year. I always kind of look at themes for my business, whether that's the sales business and
Yeah.
or the organizational business, and I do think about them in two different capacities. But for 2026, as we forecast, and I kind of look at the ponds of where I'll be fishing in, so to speak, as an analogy. That's the biggest one. We've gone through 2 years of a definitely shifting market, and as you know, what 70% of agents didn't do anything last year. Well, think about what that does to the independent broker.
Oh, yeah.
Um, you know, uh, like when you survey these indies, you go back and you go, 12 of 13 aren't making any money. And if you took the lead agent or broker out of the equation, most of the time that brokerage would be in a significant loss because of the overhead. So I'm
Yeah.
looking at I'm looking at this as an opportunity for me, but most importantly for them, because just like Pete, they're out there hurting. They're trying to keep their businesses afloat and the brokerages afloat at the same time, and provide services. So this is a great solution. This platform is a great solution for these indies.
No doubt, man. No doubt. Well, first of all, we appreciate, like always, man, you jumping on here and kind of sharing. And we got all different backgrounds on here. Some people have been doing rev share for a little while. Some have been jumping on some of these Zooms, but haven't really started maybe moving forward yet. Why don't you kind of walk us through a little bit about? I have no idea. This is what I love about this, just being able to
Yeah,
ask you questions and learn about you. But so obviously, was Brent your sponsor who brought you over?
yeah. And the story there is Brent and I were both team leaders for Keller Williams,
Okay.
and after we got out of that role, Brent ran a really successful, still does, team. He had like 23 people on his team, and he had made the move before being a team leader from Remax. And our offices at said Keller Williams were next to each other. We both had corner offices, and actually saw Brent the first night that he had done the webinar at that time. That's what we did, was webinars with
Yeah.
Rob Flick. And Brent had come out of his office, and it's like 7 p.m. at night, and Brent looked like he had seen a ghost. And both, I think, very excited, but also significantly scared.
Yeah.
And I'm asking him, I'm going, hey, is everything okay? Like, is family okay? It looked more like a personal problem.
Yeah.
And he said, well, dude, I can't tell you what's going on, but something big's in the works. And lo and behold, that next week, literally a week later, I roll in and his office is fully cleaned out. And imagine they had they had 25 agents, four different offices. So like that wing of the Keller Williams was pretty much cleaned out. And then I thought, okay, I know what's going on. Well, Brent had tried for 18 months to get me to watch the webinar and to, come to coffee with him, right? That's what, let's go
Yeah.
have coffee. And I'm like, Brent, dude, you're gonna roll me out of Keller Williams. I was in love with the model at the time and the people and friends and highly, involved in leadership there. And so one day Brent calls me up out of the blue, and I think this is a lesson in don't try and anticipate what somebody wants, but just continue to, because everybody wants something different. For some people that you're talking to, it may be a system or an application or database, something like that. Some people may be split. And for me, it was an opportunity to uh, have something larger, something legacy and passive income. And so he hit me on the right day, which was he called me up and he goes, "Hey, dude, it's like the 21st of the month, which for those of you know, 20 and 21st profit share, rev share, right?" And he goes, "Hey, dude, I want to ask you, how much was your?" That's what he says too, dude. "Hey, dude, what was your profit share?" And I'm like, I had recruited about 140 agents to Keller Williams. And he goes, "What was your profit share?" And I'm like, $400, dude. 400 bucks. And he's like, "You know what mine was?" And he had been there only 18 months, and he goes, "It was 186,000 last month." And so here's what I said. I said, "That warrants a sit down. I'll be at your office tomorrow at 2 p.m. and I want you to show me these revenue share logs from your deposit." And so I went in there, and he goes, "Here they are." Logs into Wells Fargo, turns around the monitor, and boom, 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 boom. There are all the deposits. And that got me really thinking, like, what is this? This is a real opportunity? And fast forward today, I still think it's the biggest opportunity for somebody who's interested in owning a franchise or making passive income. 100%. But the other lesson here is there's a magic move that Brent calls it that, and that's what I share with my organization too, which is when you've got somebody there and they're interested and they're in what I call like the hopper, like, let's go. He goes right then. He goes, "Okay, you know, at the end of the week, we're having at that time they called it shareholders. We're having shareholders down in Vegas." And he goes, "Give me your license, give me your ID." And James is there. Those who know James Stroop. And he goes, "James, book him a plane ticket." And he goes, "Give me your wife on the phone." And he just closed it right then. And he's like, my wife's name is Margit. He's like, "Margit, if I could take Sean for one day to Vegas and change your life, would you let him go?" Because he knew one of the objections was going to be, "Well, I've got kids, and got to talk to the wife about going to Vegas, whatever." And he books the ticket right then, books the plane ticket right then, and then I'm off to shareholders, and that's history. So I came back and I'm like, what's the worst thing that's gonna happen here? I'm gonna go back to Keller Williams and renegotiate a better deal and get my office back. But I mean, I had been there for 15 years, and here's the other lesson about recruiting top producers, team leaders, or NDs, is if they're plateaued, there's opportunity there. And I had certainly plateaued. I was very comfortable at Keller Williams, and the comfort was not a good thing though, because I really wasn't growing. I was just maintaining, and so all of those things kind of aligned at one time. And I ended up making the move that next week after going down to shareholders. So that's the story behind Brent.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, "Hey, come look at EXP, come look at the model," whatever, it was, "Hey, dude, here's what I made in revenue share. Is that of interest to you?"
Yeah. Yeah. And then booked the ticket, got the wife on the phone, closed the deal.
The whole thing, yeah.
We just
Provide
had in
provide
mind.
direction. When you've got somebody there and they're showing interest, give them something.
Yeah.
Give them something
Yeah.
tangible to work off of. Whether that's, "Hey, can I take you into the world? Can I show you the CRM? Can I show you the back end of the system? Can I buy you a ticket to Cabo? Whatever it might be."
Yeah. 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 And I know back then a lot of people, and it became a no-no with probably around that time, people were showing their rev share
Yeah.
on Facebook and all
Right.
that. I know that became, I'm trying to think of who the lady was in Dallas who had been at KW forever and like you had several hundred agents. Sherry, oh, dark hair. I can't remember. She was crushing it, but she would show hers all the time saying, "I was at KW for whatever, 15, 20 years. I want to say hers was around that 4 to 500. She'd been over
Yeah.
here for like a year and it was already up around 25, 30,000 a month after being over there for 15 years. Yeah. So people were showing it and then I know it became kind of a no-no. So a lot of these
Yeah.
shoots going on a
Very
one-on-one
taboo.
basis. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, man, let's talk about how, obviously when you first start, so it's for you, it's been about 6 years you've been
Yeah.
here. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
2000, well, actually a little bit longer than that, but yeah, the end of 2017. So
okay.
eight
And when you
years.
made the move over, Sean, did you bring a group with you? Did you already have a team and brought that team with you, or what that look
Yeah.
like?
Yep. I brought a team of 6 agents with me at that
Okay.
time, which we were operating at Keller Williams, and they all came with me. And then, I came over and I spread it out and I made a bunch of calls. And, I think by the end of that, well, let's just say 60 days into it, I was running about 30 agents.
Okay. All right.
So I think that's I had written down a couple of notes here, just like crib notes of this,
Yeah.
a lot of agents try and get away with marketing this type of growth, as far as throwing stuff on social media, and it used to be very normal for you to see people posting on social media about the rise of the stock prices and
Yeah.
all these other types of things. But really, what I found works best in my growth is reaching out, the phone calls and pop buys, and to those independent, to indies or people who are outside of major offices. But it's kind of like hand to hand combat. You identify your your top 10 or 20 for for those of you who might be larger, and say, hey, these are the people that I'm going to get into relationship with, and call and invite to events, and that's really what helped me scale that first that first launch period. And people were seeing it too. At the time, EXP was a new tool, if you will, on the block. And couple of people who had originally came over didn't necessarily have the best reputation, and that was causing a little bit of problem. So a couple of us made the move, and thank God, now we own market share in the local 4 counties. So it's fully transitioned. So those of you who may be in a new market, I know it's a different place where you're trying to gain market share as EXP, man, just keep fighting. People come over when the time is right.
Yeah. If you wouldn't mind, just since we're right here, this is just everybody with the XP, the 248 you have, do you mind me asking, what does that pay you approximately per month with all 7 levels open?
Yeah, it ranges from about 10 to 15,000, depending upon who's capped and what month it is, and et cetera. But
Yeah.
that's a good rule of thumb. Now I have most of those agents, and I know I'm running a little bit of a unique organization, but I have a lot of agents in the Bay Area,
Mm-hmm.
and so I mean, one of those deals caps, gets you capped,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so whereas as folks who may be running a high volume base or a high unit based business instead of a high volume, you may see that change. But it's very normal for one of those agents to sell a $3 million house in Hillsborough, and boom, there's a full cap coming in one month. So that's probably the ratio difference there.
Yeah, yeah, no
Yeah.
doubt. So let's fast forward to today, or at least in the last year or so. I know
Yep.
attraction in the last couple of years is probably different than it was 6 years ago
Yep.
because I've been here 8 years, and I know EXP, we kind of kept that from people in the very, very beginning, right? They're not going to join some brokerage they've never even heard of. We went through all that, and it's kind of, metamorphed itself to a whole nother approach today with most people being familiar with it. So if you wouldn't mind, talk to us a little bit about what does attraction look like for you today? How do you lay out your week? How much time do you put into it? And then we can start maybe talking about what your approach is. But yeah, a little bit about what
Yeah.
you're doing today.
I'm following the Brent Gove model of one day a week. On Wednesdays, I have a branch. I mentioned it briefly, but I have a branch office, and so Wednesday is the day that I choose for agent attraction and for team growth. And so, we have a Wednesday team meeting, 11 a.m. standing every Wednesday, and we talk about the market. We talk about mindset and a sales skill. That way, they can leave the meeting with something of substance to go out and utilize for the next week. But that's a big event because when everybody, market it, and also we have our organization calling to invite people to that event. So which is leverage for me because I guess what I'm getting at is they're helping me to grow, and obviously the people in your organization are leverage. And anyway, I
Yeah.
was just saying that we use the people in our organization for leverage. So I'm providing an event for them to invite people to every week that's standing, and we're talking about real issues and providing real solutions to the marketplace. So and then after that, I schedule my one-on-one meetings with the leaders, trying to get them pushed and motivated of the org. And then later in the afternoon is a one-on-one recruiting appointments, either with people that they're bringing in or people that I've prospected through the week or have a relationship with, and I'm going out and having coffee, or they're coming to the office. So Wednesday is my one day for you know to contribute to the organization.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So let's
Yep.
talk about that day. So you do it one day a week. It's pretty much that whole day is all about attraction, whether it's inspiring, motivating, and training your group, and or you've got one-on-ones, or you're doing like two-on-ones or something with some of the group.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
And
Um,
it's, I mean, that's the part of this, I think, is enveloping people in your culture and actually showing them what can be done, and
yeah,
showing, living it, right? Instead of telling them, here's what we do, here's what you're going to get. And so that day becomes an illustration of what our organization is about.
I gotcha. And so do you mind me asking, so is the main thing inviting people to events, guests and prospects to events? Is that one of the main sources of building?
For me, yeah. Yes, and in addition to those Wednesdays, we do a once a month standing lunch and learn for them to invite. I provide lunch. I'm a member of the local country club here, but for those of you who aren't, they do have smaller. Most of them have smaller rooms that can be rented. And the reason I do it at somewhere like that instead of like a restaurant is it's more one on one. There's a feel of luxury, if you will, bringing them into a affluent location. I've got the setup with the TV and whatnot. And so, absolutely, between training and inviting them to a facility, and these lunch and learns, it's really helped us to scale. And again, I'm not only doing it for myself, but I'm doing it for the org. It's a small price to pay for their growth, and really live what I would call living the culture.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I first started, I'm up in the mountains now, so doing lunch and learns for me doesn't work as much. But I was in Dallas for the first 6 years of building. We did lunch and learns every single week for probably 3.5 years
Yeah.
is how we built it. So for those that may not be doing that, just want to plant a seed again. Guys, you don't have to. When we got it started in Dallas, Sean, I reached out, my buddy and I reached out to about 5 or 6 other successful EXP agents. I think 4 of the 6 were not in our group. We all agreed, let's do a lunch and learn. All 6 of us were going to show up for the first 30 days. Everybody's going to be trying to invite. We got everybody to buy in. The last thing we want to do is
Right.
do one of those lunch and learns, and you have 3 or 4 guests show up, and 20 people are just all EXP members, and there's just very few guests. So we didn't do name tags or anything like that. But well, walk me through your group of 200 plus as you continue to inspire, motivate them. About how many of those, if you mind me asking, are participating in the rev share? When you compare to the company of what, 14% of any agents ever
Yeah.
attracted one, do you have a
Yeah.
much larger ratio because of what you do?
It's about 10%, honestly.
Okay. Okay.
But I've got some leaders, like two of them. One of them was a former. Well, let's see, the top three. One of them was a former broker owner in the Bay Area. One of them was a former team leader for Keller Williams at 2 different offices, and one of them is a former OP
Okay.
at Keller Williams. Right. So we've got some people who understand leadership, and they help contribute certainly to that. But 10%.
I got you. So
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about if you're making, well, outside of inviting for lunch and learns and events, do you do any other? Do you sit down for coffee? Do you do one-on-one Zooms, or is it all
Absolutely.
pretty much to events?
Yep. All of the, I do a lot of three-way calls with Brent.
Okay.
I try and make sure that they're folks who are who are further down the cycle, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's an important thing to say. And I'm sure you've talked about it in the past, but talking with somebody like Gene Frederick, where you go, hey, what's the cycle for somebody who's making a move, who's let's just say $10 million producer? And typically I mean, for me, it was 18 months. I produced way more than that, but for me, it was 18 months, and your average is probably 5 to 6 months. So yeah, you got to go and have, be engaging with these people and inviting them to events and inviting them to, I invite them to. We've got the River Cats here, and the A's are now playing because they're maneuvering down to Las Vegas. So we picked them up in Sacramento, but a couple of them, I go, hey, dude, let's go out to the A's game. Let's go catch an evening game. So you've got to really get in relationship with them. I think they come for you, really.
Yeah.
Most of the time they come because they see what you're doing, or or what people in your organization are doing, or your team leaders are doing, and they want to be in relationship with you. They want to be close. And once you secure that friendship, then it's a really easy thing to be authentic and start really talking about how the model can help them in their business and whatever needs they might have. But yeah, we're out there. We're one of the biggest needle moving evolutions for me was Brent made me a challenge, and he goes, dude, you need to get, like, he says dude all the time, that's why I'm saying it. You need to get like a dozen people to Cabo. And for those of you who know, the One Big Fire event down in Cabo. And if you can find a way to do that, I'm going to piggyback off of what he's saying and say, absolutely, do this. But he says, put it on a credit card, find your top 12 people that you want to take, and tell them, hey, I'll pay for you to go, for your room, for your hotel, for your air flight, airplane tickets, and get them there. And so 3 years ago, I took that challenge and I did it. Out of the 12 people who signed up, or out of the 12 that went, 11 signed up. And we're still working with the 12th group right now to try and bring them over. So I think it's heavily important to, just depending where you are. You were talking, I was in Dallas at one point here in Sacramento, nobody really knew the EXP brand. So it's super important to get them to these events because they can see what's happening, in the state or nationally or internationally, that it's not just an isolated group of real estate agents in Roseville or Lincoln, California, taking them to the events and exposing them to the Pace Morby and some of the other folks like who are at Cabo, is invaluable. And so we brought 3 agents from Sotheby's this year, and we're to Cabo. This is last March, and we're in negotiations now for bringing them over and starting a luxury office with them.
Ooh, that's awesome. Yeah, and just
Yeah,
to justify that for everybody, inviting someone to an event, even if you had to drop $1,500, if you help them cap that first year, that's 4 grand, right? You're
right.
still at 25. So it's same thing we're talking about right now, promoting the Miami event just for people that are here that haven't been to one that might think, man, that's kind of expensive. It's the same thing. You're going to walk out of there if you don't add an additional few transactions and or just create the relationships with 5 or 6 agents every day, create your referral network. There's so much you can do at these events, but you walk out of there, you definitely feel closer to the 10-foot tall bulletproof when you walk out of these kind of events. No doubt.
Absolutely. And for leaders, that learning that model of the challenge is the same thing. In this case, I went to my top 10% and said, hey, if you can get them to Cabo, between myself and Brent, or Wolf, Brent covering a ticket or something, we'll find a way to get them there. Just get them committed to coming. So from a leadership perspective, and if you're not in a leadership role, those of you who are on the call, leverage your leadership and leverage opportunity, to get people there. I always ask the question, what if, what if we could get you a ticket for free? What if we could get you a plane ticket? What if we could get you 3 months at no cap? What if we could cover X, Y, and Z? I think a lot of folks that, and this is a mindset thing. A lot of folks, we have the model, but there's creativity around it. And
Mm,
so, if it means going back to somebody and saying, hey, I know you're capped at whatever brokerage you're at, but what if we could get, EXP to match that, and then fight hard for them.
yeah.
And I've scaled a lot with that because there's objections that are going to be everywhere. I mean, you know that, right? It's an emotional move most of the time for people where they think that that's what really recruiting is. It's getting in relationship enough that you can find a need for somebody, and then try and solve that problem. The reason recruiting, in my opinion, has had such a bad word, it's a bad word in the industry, right? Being recruited. Nobody wants to be recruited. And so, and that's because probably at some point we've been promised something along the way that never came to fruition.
Mm,
And it's important to address that white elephant in the room when you're
yeah.
talking with people, I think, and say, hey, this is a different, we're showing you here how it's different by roping you in and providing value. But it's our job to care enough about that person to really make sure that whatever they're looking for gets addressed. And that's the leadership role. I think that's where leadership comes in, and longevity in relationship. And we were running a pretty tight group. I've only had, as far as cappers is concerned, over my time here, um, and this is not a toot my own horn moment. This is about really living that expectation of finding the need and solving it. I've only lost one capper since I've been here to another brokerage, and I mean that's 7 years later, and that's because they partnered with the Zillow Flex account at the other brokerage, and so they're getting whatever they've had a different opportunity.
Yeah.
So that we're highly focused on providing value.
Yeah. Yeah. To your current organization. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
So do you ever right now, I don't know if you just continue to call on agents who you've got relationships with because you continue to do deals, or do you ever, after you've gone through most of your warm market, do you ever go reach out and cold call?
I'm not a cold caller. I had my share of that when I was at Keller Williams.
Yeah.
I'm more of a get in relationship with them. There's a system that goes along with that though. Are we cold emailing out? Yes. Are we cold social media? Yes.
Yeah.
Are we inviting them to events? Yes. I just for me personally, I know it works for a lot of people. It just didn't. It's just not something I'm geared for as far as like my disc profile and who I am. So I'd
Yeah.
like to tee them up with invites and with the invites to the lunch and learns and the training. And Brent holds some regional trainings here, so those are all like, hey, love to see you. A cold calling for, hey, just let me back up and say, would I just say, hey, do you want to go to coffee? Yes, absolutely. But I'm not going to call them and be like, hey, let me tell you a little bit about EXP, as far as trying to sell them on that. And I'm more focused, Sean, on producing agents at this point
Yeah.
in my career. Going after those agents who are cappers who are doing 10 million. So I happen just in this market to know a lot of them. But I will share with you, I'm breaking into a different market in the Bay Area. I've just got another branch office down there. Small office, cost me like $1,500 a month for that.
Mhm.
And we're doing the trainings down there. I've committed every other week to have lunch and learn and a training there. And so what I am doing is calling and inviting those agents and to a training event,
Okay.
separate from a conversation about making a move to EXP. We want to we want to get them in the sales cycle. And you know, think about this. There's this method out there called the decision making cycle, and a lot of the reason why recruiting becomes so, or agent attraction is a little different than most other sales related vehicles, is because oftentimes the prospect, if you will, isn't in a position where they've committed, or they even know that they need a move or they want to make a move. And so, it's important to understand where they're at in the decision making cycle. And if they're not even choosing or making the decision, it's really your job to get them in curiosity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that way there's some, you've got some leverage once they go, well, am I paying Sotheby's too much money? Well, am I paying too much for a CRM every month, or whatever that, or hey, I've been here at Keller Williams for 15 years and I've contributed so much to the brokerage, yet I have no ownership or I have no passive income coming in. Find a way to encroach. I guess the lesson here is find a way to encroach to get them in curiosity so that they start the process of a potential decision of reevaluating their brokerage.
Yeah. So it all comes down to question asking. So you start off with the event, bring people to the event, begin to build a relationship, start finding about them and their business and so forth. And then is it just obviously continue to follow up, drip on them, invite them to events, send over awesome masterminds, different that you've already recorded, stuff like that. So I think the same thing. Hopefully, you guys all feel we're doing the same thing on our end, right? Whether you make a cold call to invite them to an event. So what you're saying, instead of calling to talk about EXP, it's simply calling to invite them to something to see if you can provide
Yes.
value. That's
Yeah.
how it works.
Yes. And think about it this way, even with your listing or buyer prospects, one very much is a push energy. Like, hey, I'm pushing EXP or I'm pushing my desire to list your house on you. Whereas
Yeah,
question based or the invite is more of a pull energy. And they, you know what I mean? Like you're pulling them towards you. It's a different type of uh, evolution.
yeah.
The questions are just like with everything in sales, the questions are imperative. So build yourself a good question to ask these folks. Like, did you hit your goals last year? What does that look like? Who's helping you with that? What if we could help you with that? What does your database look like? Did you take home as much money as you were hoping to last year? Um, what are you currently working on? What's your theme for next year? What's your next event that you're going to? How are you going to grow next year when the market is declining? All of those questions. But for me, from an authenticity perspective, and I think that's an
yeah.
important word to understand here in agent attraction or recruiting, it's really from an authenticity perspective, it's really about trying to help them out,
Just being real, being genuine.
just being real, being genuine, really caring about them and their family, and to get to that point, to get what I guess where I was going with it, to get to that point of where you can ask those questions, there has to be a little bit of a relationship there. If I
Yeah.
just met you today and started asking you those questions, you'd be like, dude, you don't have the right to ask those. You haven't even tried to befriend me.
Yeah. Do you mind me asking, Sean? You rattled off some awesome questions. Obviously, we got the recording, but do you have a list of questions like you just rattled off that you ask?
Yeah, I do, and would be happy to share those with you outside of this. But what I've done is, and this is for my whole business. Um, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with the core training, but it's an awesome coaching program, and it's about getting super. Part of it is about getting super organized. And so I take these life lessons from that program, which I graduated from like 10 years ago or whatever. But I have binders for everything. So I've got a whole binder for recruiting, and I separated that by half capping agents and by full capping agents and by like there's a third one of what I call whales. And these are people who I've identified throughout the country who would be great to get a meeting with or go to one of their events or whatever. But in those binders, I have the questions, I have a little bit of the scripts, I have their names printed out. And so it's really easy for me on a Wednesday, if I don't have any appointments or whatever, to grab that binder and go, okay, hey, today I'm going to call half cap or half capping agent. Today I'm going to call the full agents. Today I'm going to reach out to the whales. And with the whales, it may just be common. You have to start out very slowly by that with them. I think to be able to manage that relationship, but it may be just going in and checking their social media pages and going in and liking and commenting on some of their stuff. Those types of things. But that's how I stay organized. And so if you're running, I know this is about growth, but if you're also running a sales business, I do the same thing with those folks. Here's my current lead tracker. Here's an expired program. Here's my referral partners. Here are my whales in business. Here are my builder accounts. That way, you keep it very much systematized but organized. I find that's the biggest with my agents. That's the biggest or hardest feat is trying to get them organized so that they go, hey, who are you going to reach out to on Mondays? Well, it's this. Just go grab the binder and it's got everything in there for you.
Yeah, yeah. And is the approach much different when you're calling a half capper versus a capper? Are you still inviting to the events, still doing the same thing, or is the verbiage changed a little bit?
I, I don't know. Not really. No. I mean, you're having different conversations with the capper because most of the time, like I was talking to a guy the other day who's got 10 agents on his team. So those cappers are going to have agents, and so sometimes for them, it's what does this look like? Are you happy managing the team? Like, are you making enough money off of them? Is there enough opportunity for them, for the good ones to stay? What does this look like long term? Because those agents have different conversations than your half capper. Your half capper is like, hey, I'm a solo agent and I'm doing, whatever, $6 million a year. They're not, most of the time, they're not talking about leverage or who the next hire might be. And the main capper, it's like, hey, or for the capping agent, sometimes that's, hey, if you had a better opportunity for your agents, do you think you could
Right on the
locked
cusp.
up there for a minute, huh?
Yeah, it froze for just a second. Yeah,
Try locked
it's kind of freezing again,
you.
Sean. Not sure what's
In
happening there.
another quarter.
Yeah, put in another quarter. Yeah, Sean, if you hear me, brother, it's frozen. Um, this is some good stuff, guys. We do this every Monday, and I really do enjoy it. But there's so much crossover. But it's interesting. He's never made a cold call. It's all about calling just to invite them to an event. But it sounds like doing a lot to just keep going in onto social media, making comments, liking posts, doing stuff. And then from there on social media, sometimes he's inviting people to events. So, guys, think about our event we have tomorrow with the Sean Corbett, right? What's the title of that? It's How to Make Money Without Spending Money. For those hopefully, if you guys have not heard Sean Corbett train, oh my gosh, guys, he's out of the Dallas area and he did a training for us. He's done about 4 or 5, but a couple years ago, just FYI, he has built a business, guys, that he does, and we'll verify with him tomorrow, but 10, 15, 20 million, huge producer, but he works about 35 hours a week. He's done by 4 o'clock every day, goes to pick up his kids. All of his clients know, to not really call him after hours. Obviously, he'll sit up, go look. If it's an emergency, and then he'll start joking, what really is an emergency in real estate? Can it all wait till in the morning? But anyway, he's got pretty much his clients trained. He's tied up after 4 o'clock and he doesn't work weekends. And the guy still does 15, 20 million in volume. So he's going to teach us tomorrow how to make money without spending money. So again, why am I saying that? If you've got other agents right now that you know are kind of struggling, invite them tomorrow to learn from Sean Corbett, a guy who's cranking out, making several $100,000 and works a 35-hour work week in real estate. I think we'd all like that, right? Because most of us that are rocking it, you're probably working 50, 60 plus hours. How in the world has Sean Corbett got his business down to half that? And yet he's out producing 99% of the agents. So good event to invite other people to, good event for all of us to show up to. And Sean Corbett is obviously doing some pretty impressive things. Hey, brother, good to see
I'm
you
back.
back.
Sorry, y'all.
Oh, all good. I was just telling them we have a gentleman coming on tomorrow out of Dallas. He's in our group and he crushes it. He's, 15 to 20 million, but he works like 35 hours a week. He's got his whole business kind of dialed in where his clients don't call him after 4 o'clock and don't call him on weekends. And he's crushing his business and he's coming on to train tomorrow. And I'm like, what a great event to invite other agents to. This guy has
Absolutely.
figured it out in 20 years of real estate, flips houses, rental properties, and still crushes volume and somehow works less than 40 hours a week. So yeah, great place to invite, as well as so many of the different EXP events and stuff that we have. But okay, listen, guys, we got about 10 minutes left. Sean, we sincerely appreciate your time. Anybody on here, Brian, Brad, any guys want to ask any questions directly to Sean or anybody out there, right? Still got a handful of us on here. Any questions you guys would like to ask? Go ahead, Brian.
Hey, no, no, Sean, I was just going to say, I mean, it sounds like you kind of focus on your direct market is, around you in the California is what you were saying. And, as far as making calls and doing things and reaching out to agents, you're you're just doing I would consider it your warm market. Looks like Sean's locked up
Yours
again,
again.
Sean. But I mean, I think that's kind of the way I've heard him build his business.
Yeah, it does seem to be all localized and inviting people to events where he has offices and so forth. Yeah, so maybe we're going to ask, does he try to build outside of, and is that just all Zooms and then inviting to
Correct.
imagine his
Yeah.
emails that could be spread
I
out?
mean, as we used LinkedIn, or maybe we've used other social media, platforms to attract, or talk to agents and build some type of rapport with them to where, you could get them to sit down with you to have a Zoom type thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, Brian, speaking of that, do you primarily focus on building here in Colorado, or do you also focus on a few other markets?
Well, initially, as you know, I used LinkedIn a lot. I was doing international stuff. I was really, when we opened up Mexico and some of those other markets, I was doing stuff there and actually brought some people in from India, Mexico, and even Brazil, had them on our team, frontline. And then they didn't really pan out. They didn't do much. I think it was too early in the game, and they just didn't
Yeah,
get plugged in, type thing. So we didn't see any volume out of it. But yeah, I learned a valuable lesson and how to you know, kind of the process and how to utilize that platform and to reach out to agents. Primarily today, I mean, it's most of mine's local, primarily calling
yeah,
and doing the calls and looking at volume, from people and trying to look at people that are actually, producing, you know, 3 million probably and above because,
yeah,
I think they're going to be more active to maybe to improve, where they're at.
yeah,
And I think that has helped me with EXP because I've transitioned to where, each year doubled my business through EXP, and now mine's pretty predictable, based upon on my activities. I kind of know what's going to happen and what you're going to do, that type of thing.
yeah. I mean, I always say it's just as hard to recruit somebody doing 3 million as it is somebody doing 1 million. So you might as well focus on 3 million or greater. So at least it benefits you even more if you're going to spend your time doing it, calling capping agents, right? Good chance it's going to make you $4,000, and that makes that phone call and the time you're spending a little more worthwhile if you know you're approaching a capper, right?
Yeah, and my big push is too, if I'm going to bring an agent over, and I want to make sure they're successful, not only selling real estate or depending on what their goals are, and part of that could be, having an attraction, the agent attraction piece as well. Just all depends upon their goals.
Yeah. Well, I just got a text from him. Yeah, I just got a message from AT&T that they are having intermittent outages. So,
Oh wow.
yeah, I told him no problem. Hey, appreciate you jumping on, Sean. Period. Would you like me to send you the recording after we're done? Period. Okay. All right, guys. Well, yeah, we can definitely answer any other kind of questions you guys have, just like we do on a Wednesday or Thursday. But with the 12 of you guys still here, I appreciate it. Hey, I was going to say, Cher, I appreciate it you sharing. You're starting the faster track today. First of all, congrats. I went through about two-thirds of it, the last one they had. Some good stuff. It really is some good stuff. And what I like about it, it's almost like taking all these interviews we've done, compacted into a 6-week course, because they will cover almost every different kind of approach. They'll ask all kinds of questions, a lot of participation, but you'll walk away from it. Your confidence will be a lot higher because you'll have all different kind of ideas on how to approach, and whichever one seems to kind of correlate with you and your personality. So anyway, it is a great training. So is anybody else signed up for that? You said it starts today, right?
Yes,
So it's
yes.
the same thing. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday for like an hour, and they give you a certain amount of work to do and that kind of thing. Good for you, man. That's awesome.
Well, thank
Anybody
you.
else signed up for that? That faster tracked? No?
Sean,
Well,
I
should,
spent a little time in it. I got about halfway through and then I got, sidetracked with other
yeah,
stuff with real estate and I didn't finish, but it was awesome.
yeah,
I'm going to go back
Yeah,
and redo it again,
yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, because they have a bunch of the other biggest attractors on there that are also
Yeah.
kind of filling in, and they have them on as guest speakers and all that. So, Sherry, you should love it. Look forward to your feedback and stuff as well. All
Sean, question. The,
right.
the gentleman that's training tomorrow, his name is Sean as well.
Yeah, Sean Corbett out of Dallas, Texas. I want to say Corbett's been doing this for a couple decades. Matter of fact, he sold me one of my houses back in Dallas back in the day. But the big thing, if you heard me talking about, he somehow has his work week down to 35 hours a week.
Yes, I heard.
Approximately that's the part to me that first time he ever talked about all that, it was about 2 years ago. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, how do you do that kind of volume and you're not working over 35 hours? And I can't remember the details of it. So whether or not that's going to be some of his presentation tomorrow, just how to make money without spending money. But Corbett, if you've heard him train, he's awesome. So I highly advise everybody to be on there tomorrow and kind of spread the word. That ought to be a great training. Questions? Any other questions here, gang, as we head into the week? Anybody? Anything you're working on? Anybody you're talking to? Need some help? What's the next follow-up? Anything like that at all with anybody?
Hey, Sean.
Yes.
Hey, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Doing
Yeah, I'm
good.
definitely interested in the fast attract. I'm not sure where to go to find that. I probably should know this, but
Oh, well, you know what? Sherry, you probably got the link right there. Can you put that in the chat for Jim?
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
let me get to that. Hold on just a sec.
Yeah, take your time.
Is it already sold out for the amount of people, or are they?
About just yet. You may still have time. Let's see.
What time's your class today?
In about 5 minutes.
How's your schedule looking there, Jim?
Yeah, take your time, but hurry, right?
Right.
Too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm too late, I'll just maybe catch the next one, but definitely sounds good.
Yeah, I'll see. I got in there by the university is where I found it, but
Okay.
I can't
Okay.
pull that link up.
That's fine. That's fine. Sure. I'll look it up. Just go to EXP University.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then do a search for Fast Attract, and it
Yeah.
should pop up.
Got you. All right.
And feel free, what you could also do, Jim, for some reason you can't jump on in 5 minutes, because I think they have it set up where you can't miss more than two of the classes. Same thing they do with the
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
app. But you could still have it running in the background, even if you can't attend, and you can go back and watch the recording and then maybe jump in Wednesday, Friday and start catching them. Just a thought.
That's a good thought. Yeah, absolutely.
In the chat.
Okay,
Oh,
there.
thank you, Cher. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to grab that as well in case somebody else asks, and just store that in my notes. Or you know what? I can probably bookmark it. Fast Attract. There we go. Cool, cool. Thank you for sharing that. Cher, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, guys. Well, if no other questions, appreciate everybody jumping on here today. Again, look forward to hopefully seeing everybody on tomorrow morning with Sean Corbett. Again, if I can ever help with anything or any of the other leaders, you guys, please reach out. We're definitely here to help, or if I don't have the answer, I can probably guide you in the right direction. All right, gang. Hope everybody
Thanks,
has a
Sean.
great
Appreciate
day.
it.
See everybody tomorrow. All right,
Take
guys.
care.
Thank you.